The release of the Blair Witch Project featured a groundbreaking marketing campaign that augmented the folkloric content of the film itself. According to journalist Bernard Weinraub, the Blair Witch Project is the first widely released film promoted primarily via the internet. The distributor, Artisan Entertainment, maintained the film's premise of being a factual document and published accompanying material online and offline in support of that claim. For example, the studio published missing persons posters in magazines and newspapers, and had them displayed in shopping centers and theater lobbies. The posters depicted the main characters' faces and directed people to the official website where they could provide information or learn more. Anyone who visited the website would find a range of artifacts that seemingly verified the legitimacy of the posters. These included police reports detailing the disappearance of the characters and the discovery of their equipment, as well as photographs of their personal belongings, maps of Burkittsville and the Black Hills charting their movements, photocopied pages from an old book about the Blair Witch legend, and newsreel-style interviews with Burkittsville locals recounting the event. To maintain the illusion, the producers arranged for actors to edit their own Internet Movie Database profiles in order to list their status as missing, presumed dead. Finally, Artisan Entertainment commissioned a true crime-style pseudo-documentary about the disappearance of the characters, called The Curse of the Blair Witch, which broadcast on television all over the world prior to the film's release. These efforts sparked significant public interest, as well as online and offline debates over whether the film was a genuine documentary or a work of fiction. These strategies were highly effective, helping the Blair Witch Project become one of the highest-grossing horror films and the most profitable independent film until that point. J.P. Tellett attributes the success to the campaign's ability to target tech-savvy young people, especially college students, to generate word-of-mouth interest and to harness the, then untested, participatory and viral utilities of the internet. Artisan Entertainment capitalized on consumer curiosity and reactions towards the film by recording audience members' pre- and post-viewing testimonials and incorporating their responses into new advertisements. Tellett praises the ingenuity and artistic ambition of the campaign, stating that the continuous cultivation of authenticity in both the film and its marketing, as well as the exploitation of people's authentic emotional responses to the film, enhanced both the narrative and its frightening effect. By utilizing the participatory medium of the internet, the filmmakers and producers of Blair Witch combined a fabricated colonial folk legend, the Blair Witch, and a fabricated contemporary folk legend, the Vanished Film Crew, with the burgeoning folk discourses of the information age. Other successful found footage horror films, such as Cloverfield and Paranormal Activity, would later emulate this strategy. In a survey conducted by Margaret Schreier, which reviewed the initial online discussion of the Blair Witch Project, it was revealed that 40% of user queries concentrated on whether the footage of the film or the events it depicted was, quote, real or not. Schreier observes that this uncertainty usually stemmed from how the film had mixed a seemingly supernatural narrative with a realistic mise-en-scène and documentary-like presentation. Tellett supports this reading, noting that the unglamorous quality of the alleged evidence depicted on the film's website and the relative normality of the characters depicted in the photographs and posters distanced viewers' perception away from Hollywood fantasy and situated them in a world very similar to their own. The black and white stills featured in The Curse of the Blair Witch show the characters' cameras and film canisters encrusted with dirt, giving them the appearance of crime exhibits, which most viewers would be familiar with from police procedural dramas and true crime documentaries, further reinforcing the perception of realism. Moreover, by presenting these alleged artifacts as genuine and inviting people to investigate and speculate over them, Artisan Entertainment allowed viewers to participate in the construction and cultivation of the Blair Witch folklore. Schreier's survey demonstrates that people were engaging with the film's fabricated legend through folkloric discourse. They were asking and answering questions, collating elements, assessing authenticity, and debating among themselves over the potential meanings. That people were transmitting the story of the Blair Witch, as though it might be true, fulfills the definition of an urban legend. It therefore represents one of the first examples of folklore that originated on the internet. The majority of this occurred in the months surrounding the film's release. There is evidence that the discourse lasted for years afterwards, in different forms and variations. For example, fans created artwork and fan fiction inspired by the film, and even as late as 2007, internet users were still posting the question, is the Blair Witch Project real? The proliferation of the Blair Witch legend reflects two broader online folk practices: the cataloging and speculation of traditional folklore and urban legends, especially those related to the existence of supernatural beings, and the production of internet folktales, or fake lore, for entertainment. Folklore related to monsters, spirits, and aliens developed over centuries and has been amplified by the internet. The internet serves as a place in which to catalog various accounts and alleged documentation of legendary beings, as well as a forum in which to examine and share new accounts and evidence. An entire school of pseudoscience, known as cryptozoology, formed in the mid-20th century with the aim of proving the existence of folkloric monsters, such as Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. Today, users primarily study and teach cryptozoology online via websites such as the International Fortean Organization and Cosmopolis. Likewise, there is a vast network of ghost hunters and UFOologists coordinating with each other over the web in an effort to prove the existence of ghosts and extraterrestrial beings. The primary evidence presented by cryptozoologists consists of photographs and videos of supposed supernatural encounters. Ghost hunters also present sound recordings of haunted places based on their belief that spirits are invisible to the human eye. After users acquire this evidence, they upload it to the internet, where it is circulated online between various cryptozoology and ghost hunting forums, and then either incorporated into the broader folkloric discourses of the community or rejected. Thus, as the Blair Witch Project depicts in both its text and paratexts, technology serves an important function in the documentation and perpetuation of traditional folklore. Alongside and often intersecting with the online discourse of traditional folklore and urban legends is the production of internet folktales. Folktales are distinct from legends in the sense that the former is usually understood to be fictitious, while the latter is understood to be potentially or partially true. Thus, the production and transmission of online folktales is primarily an expression of communal creativity and entertainment. The most popular form of online folktales is known as creepypasta, horror-centric stories and images that are, quote, copied and pasted around the internet. Creepypasta folktales are intended to scare people and usually involve stories of murder, possession, and otherworldly occurrences. Notable creepypasta stories include Slender Man, Ben Drowned, Jeff the Killer, and Ted the Caver. Sometimes creepypastas involve supernatural beings haunting people through the medium of technology, thereby implicating virtual spaces and online participants into the narrative. The popularity of creepypasta further demonstrates society's fear and fascination towards monsters, and, as Cohen argued, the ability of monsters to embody the collective fears of a particular time and place. Like traditional folklore, it often proves difficult for archivists to determine the origin of a creepypasta story, as it typically evolves, changes, and merges with other creepypastas as it travels between users. While users initially understand creepypasta stories to be manufactured, the more the stories proliferate, the higher the chance is that they are believed by a user to be true, and thereby become internet legends in their own right. A famous example of a creepypasta story blurring the lines between fiction and reality occurred in 2014, when two schoolgirls stabbed their friend on what they claimed were the orders of the Slender Man. Found footage horror films, such as The Blair Witch Project, function in a similar fashion to creepypasta. They signify realism in their text, and in many cases in their paratexts. It is easy to imagine someone watching The Blair Witch Project without background knowledge, or even to imagine them watching an online fragment of the film, or its marketing campaign, and being convinced of its authenticity. The Blair Witch Project helped induct traditional folklore and urban legends into the information age, serving as one of the first examples of creepypasta. Notably, the Slender Man folktale was adapted into its own found-footage horror web series, entitled Marble Hornets. If we accept the theory that, despite not literally existing, these supernatural beings are projections of cultural fears and signifiers of collective trauma, then the intensifying fascination with folkloric monsters during the information age assumes a special significance. The Blair Witch Project demonstrates this fascination on two levels: the investigation carried out by the characters within the film, and the investigation carried out by the viewers. Indeed, the film's marketing cleverly aligns the viewer's perspective with that of the characters. Like Heather Donahue, the film's target audience are young adults from middle-class suburban backgrounds living at the turn of the century and whose lives and worldviews are heavily shaped by technology and mass media. Also, like Heather, young viewers may be skeptical of official accounts of history and wish to venture into shrouded, forbidding places in search of the truth. The Blair Witch Project and The Last Broadcast were released less than a decade after the emergence of trauma theory as an academic field, which was established in the early 1990s literature of Kathy Caruth, Judith Herman, and others. This context is notable because it means that these were among the first horror films to be made in the context of a world where psychological and historical trauma theory were more widely known and being absorbed into popular culture. According to Sally J. Morgan, academic revelations about the traumatic effects of colonization on indigenous people provided a backdrop for public discourse and policy in the latter half of the 20th century. These revelations also contributed to young white Americans becoming increasingly uneasy about the privileged position they held as American citizens and problematized their relationship with its history and landscape. The desire to document and confront folkloric monsters, as depicted in remote found footage horror and internet folklore in general, signals a compulsion to confront historical trauma, theorists contend, cannot be properly articulated because it has been denied by the individual and collective mind. Therefore, its frightening sensations and revelations are sublimated into monsters. Like historical trauma, the monster continually haunts the conscious and unconscious memory of society and the nation. The Blair Witch Project, The Last Broadcast, and Willow Creek all depict the search for a folkloric monster, and, as the remainder of this chapter will explore, the horror of meeting these monsters evokes a reliving of traumatic events and experiences from America's past.